What's up, everyone? Time for your Rangers update for today. It's Saturday, the 20th of March. Spring training is almost done, a little more than a week away. And then the Rangers have games in Arlington on the 29th and the 30th. And then off the 31st, Kansas City opening day on the 1st. All right, got a few things I want to address today. First, yesterday's game against the Dodgers. The Dodgers beat the Rangers. I don't even remember the score. But Han-Young Yang, the South Korean lefty, looked pretty good. He had 3 innings, 2 of which were 1-2-3 innings, had a little bit of trouble in that middle frame, the second of his 3 innings. And I don't think he's going to make this team on opening day. But, I think a lot of times our conversations are very binary. It's like, are you on the opening day roster or not? But the reality is it's not, it shouldn't be a binary conversation, because for a guy like Yang, who I don't know how much consideration he's getting for the opening day roster. And I don't mean that like he's not getting any. I mean, I genuinely don't know. He's not really someone I've thought to be a likely candidate, but the multi-inning ability and the fact that he's a lefty could work in his favor. But whether it's a guy like Yang or Joe Palumbo or anyone who, perhaps doesn't make the opening day roster, the opportunities that they get here are putting them in a position to climb or maintain a high spot on the depth chart of those who aren't on the opening day roster. Because as you all know, the opening day roster is the roster for a day, maybe a few days, maybe a week, 2 weeks, it depends how lucky you are as far as the stability, but you're going to have tons of different iterations of the roster, whether guys get hurt, guys are not performing, guys get traded, guys get released, whatever. Rosters change. And so while, yes, it's a tremendous accomplishment to be on the opening day roster, and as we've talked about, there are certain veterans who have outs in their contract. So if they're not going to be on the opening day roster, then, they're probably not going to be in the organization. They're guys without options who, if they're not on the roster, not in the organization. But for a lot of guys, it's, competing to be on the opening day roster, but also competing to be the next man up, or the second man up, or the third man up, or somewhere high on the depth chart of those who do not make the opening day roster, so that your turn is coming. And I think Yang, at minimum, is putting himself in that sort of a position. As far as relievers are concerned, yesterday I asked Chris Woodward about Jose Leclerc. In 2020, Jose Leclerc barely pitched, got hurt. All right, had the teres major muscle tear, which is the back of the shoulder, missed most of 2020. 2019 was up and down. 2018, he was one of the 5 best relievers in baseball, but he has not been that guy for quite some time. And, as we've talked about, it's really tough to know what to make of Cactus League performance, but there's just something, again, about Jose Leclerc that just looks a little off. The velocity is in the low to mid 90s. The Slambio doesn't appear to be getting the same type of befuddling reaction from hitters. Hitters don't appear uncomfortable in the box against Jose Leclerc like they used to. So I asked Woody, is Jose Leclerc your closer? And Woody did not say that he was. He said it's too soon to tell. No one has really earned that yet. And so to me, that means that, well, not only are they a little concerned about Jose Leclerc, or not only do they want him to show that he can be the 2018 guy again, but it's that he might not even be the leading candidate to close. Woody acknowledged they might not have a set closer from day one. They might not go into the season knowing that this guy is our closer. It might be hey, you're going to get the first crack and you're going to hold on to it as long as you're able to, or maybe the first few weeks, a few different guys get a shot and they figure out how their bullpen best fits with this guy or that guy. The 3 guys who I think make the most sense, Jose Leclerc, should be in the conversation, Matt Bush and Ian Kennedy. I think Matt Bush might be the favorite, in part because I don't think they look at Matt Bush as a multi-inning guy, especially with the recent injury history. And Ian Kennedy could be someone valuable in a multi-inning role. Ian Kennedy has closed recently. Matt Bush obviously has closer's experience. So does Jose Leclerc. Matt Bush has looked really, really good. We've barely seen Ian Kennedy, but he's looked fine. I do think he's going to make the team. But again, I think that multi-inning ability might almost hurt him, as far as being the closer. But you could also look at it as, hey, Matt Bush has missed the last few years. Do we really need to rush him back into the closer's role? There's not a best option here. Right now, I'd say that Matt Bush has the edge over Ian Kennedy, and I'd say Jose Leclerc is probably third in that conversation. Uh, One thing Chris Woodward's talked about is matching guys up, and I think that's a great conversation in practice, and I'd love to see the Rangers try that, but it's really hard, and I think a lot of guys, a lot of managers want to be in a position to do that, but few managers have the bullpen to allow them to do that. Because even Woody acknowledged the ninth inning is a different beast. All right, you can take your best reliever, your closer, and you can throw him in the eighth inning because it's a one-run game and he's facing 3, 4, 5. But 6, 7, 8, for certain lineups, they're no slouches. And you take your second or third best reliever, whomever's left for that ninth inning. Some guys just aren't cut out for the ninth. There are a lot of examples of guys who are great in innings 5, 6, 7, 8 as relievers, but the ninth inning, it just, for whatever reason, it doesn't work for them. So you've got to have multiple guys that are cut from a closer's cloth to be able to do that. The Rays were able to do that, but the Rays also had like 29 relievers who threw 107 miles an hour and were nasty. The Rangers, I don't know if they're in that spot right now, especially without Joe Ellie and Brett Martin likely to start the season. Certainly Joe Ellie with Jonathan Hernandez out for a few months. That's cut into their relief depth. So I think the idea of matching up closers or using your best reliever in the most high leverage spot in the seventh, eighth, or ninth inning is a great idea in theory. It's tough to execute in practice because you still need capable relievers for the eighth and ninth innings or the seventh and ninth, whatever it might be, to help close out a game. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Rangers, address the closer spot. Again, this shouldn't be a huge concern because you don't really need a closer when you're in the position the Rangers are in. You need a closer when they're competing for a playoff spot again. So if there's a time to kind of have one of these sort of reactions to not having a closer, this would be it. And then finally, yesterday the Rangers played the Dodgers. I believe it's the last time in spring training they'll see them. They will see them again in the regular season. And the Rangers are kind of in a ground zero position of team building and getting back to a point of competing, not just for playoff spots or divisions, but competing for that elusive World Series. And I think sometimes as sports fans, we have a condition where we look at the champion in a given sport and we use them as the model and forget that there were other really good teams who might have done things differently. For instance, the Dodgers and the Tampa Bay Rays have some similarities, but they also have a lot of differences. Tampa Bay got to the World Series. They've been a very good franchise for a while. Just because the Dodgers beat them doesn't mean their way is right and Tampa's way is wrong. The Braves have done things differently. They were a really good team. The Padres, the Yankees, whatever. They're in the NFL, like the Chiefs and the Bucks, two different ways of building a team. Both are really good. It doesn't just mean that the winning team is the right team and everyone else is wrong. But one thing that the Dodgers, who are the defending World Series champions, did that is so important if you're building a World Series championship team is hitting on all 4 areas of team building. That's drafting and obviously developing across the board. Drafting, domestic free agent signings, international free agent signings, and trades. And it's not just for the superstars. It's for the good players, the role players. You think of the guys they drafted: Buehler, Kershaw, Dustin May, Corey Seager, Will Smith, Cody Bellinger. Guys they signed: AJ Pollock. Years ago, Justin Turner was an acquisition. They traded for Chris Taylor. They traded for Mookie Betts internationally, Julio Urias and Victor Gonzalez. It just, they hit in all areas. And so as you consider where the Rangers are and where they want to be, it's going to be important that the Rangers hit in all areas: the drafting, the international signing, the domestic signings, and the trades. There you go. That's our update for today. Looking forward to chatting with you again later on. Remember, Rangers in action tonight against the Mariners, and then we have Rangers hot stove tomorrow following the Rangers game against Cleveland, I believe, in Goodyear. Talk to you later.